started.
Perfect. Really excited to do this with you all. I want this to be a conversation. I have slides that I can walk us through, and I will walk us through at different points. But I think we have a good enough group here where I do want this to be a conversation. And I'd love to know, to kick us off here, I'll give a little bit of an intro later on, but I'd love to kind of go around the horn a little bit and say, hey, here's what I'm hoping to get out of today. Here's what here's what success in the next hour would be for me. Because I want to make sure we hit on that. I have spend 24 hours a day on LinkedIn. I want to make that valuable for you all, but I want to make sure that it hits on what it is that you all are hoping to get from today. So I might just go around the horn. I'll call on people. Sorry for those that don't want to be called on, but that's kind of the way I do these things. And I want to know what you want to get out of today. We're talking all about LinkedIn, social selling, how to actually use LinkedIn as a business development tool. That's what I obsess over. That's what our team obsesses over. And I want to know what questions you have. Aaron, I'll have you go first. I'll call you out here. What are you hoping to get out of today? What would be valuable for you in the next hour?
Something that has been on my mind is, should I be prioritizing my own posts and like trying to have a post that gets a lot of engagement, or is it better to go and like comment on other people's posts and basically like draft off of their strong engagement?
Great question. My answer is a combination, and I'll probably hit on the questions as we go through. I might say, hey, I got something in the slides here as we go through, but my answer is annoying. It's a combination of both.
I figured
I'm sure you were like, hey, of course he's going to say that. What I would say around commenting, I have a lot of thoughts around this. What I would say around commenting is I don't think there's real value in commenting on Simon Sinek's post.
Yeah.
Realistically, he's not going to read it. Nobody on his team's going to read it. If there are people in your world that you want to get to know that don't get 150 comments on their post, this is a really good way to go from a complete stranger to getting to know them. Yeah. One of our favorite tactics and something we always recommend is like, if you have a prospect or someone in your pipeline, hit the bell on their profile so that you'll get notified every time they post. And that's what I would prioritize from a commenting perspective, rather than just like hoping Ben's post shows up in my feed.
So that's a great tip. Thank you.
What we recommend is like, when you have someone's in the pipeline, you don't want to keep bothering them. Hey, Aaron, are you ready to move forward? Hit the bell on their profile. When you get 5 minutes between calls, share something thoughtful there. That's by far the number one commenting strategy that we've seen work. And then, Aaron, you do that 3 times, and what would have been a complete stranger is now, yeah, Aaron shows up thoughtfully on my posts.
She's always trolling whatever I have to say. Love that girl.
Exactly.
Okay, that's so actionable. Thank you.
Of course. Choice, I might wait for you because you might have hopped away. So Ben, I'll go to you. What are you hoping to get out of today? What will be valuable for you in the next hour?
Yeah, I know my audience is on LinkedIn. They're there, and I'm, I've yet, I'm in a place where I'm experimenting with a lot of content. Not only, it's like what is the hair commercial from the 90s? Not only am I a representative, but I'm also a patient. Does anybody remember that commercial? I know my audience is on LinkedIn, and right now I'm posting a lot of the content I've decided to post on hair club for men. That's right, Aaron. Thank you. I know my audience is on LinkedIn. A lot of my content is personal, related to how we're building Bedford, tied to like this channel I've created called Ben Builds a School. So I've been thinking about how do I channel that. I like the strategy of like organic outreach and commenting, but trying to think about how to channel the content and what I've built around how to target potential customers. If that makes sense.
A lot of thoughts there. I would say you're starting from a really good spot with a very strong audience. And and this is probably going to come up a bunch because AI is kind of all anybody can talk about. The more it shows as really true Ben and like building in public. Like I've seen a lot of what you've done on Instagram, and putting a decent amount of that on LinkedIn would actually be pretty interesting. And I don't think is content that you see a ton of. And then like how do we generate that into new clients? This will be a big part of what we talk about, but like who's engaging with your content that fits the bill of what a really good ICP would be for Bedford. I mean, I think that's where what would have been like cold and weird is, oh no, I've been seeing what Ben's doing. Let me use that as an excuse to you're then using that as an excuse to outreach. They're getting in the pipeline. Like that's what I love about LinkedIn that I don't see as much in Instagram or Twitter is like, I know the specific job and kind of title of that person way better than any other platform. And to me, it's like, okay, Ben is worth the outreach and the conversation, and Harris isn't because of X, Y, and Z. That's crude, that's crass, but in a world of like trying to prioritize our time, that's why I'm so passionate about what this can do from a business development perspective. Thank you,
Harris,
Ben.
appreciate that. Yeah, thank you very much. It makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you following my content. That means a lot. It's you, my grandmother, Jamie, and Paul. There was a lot of likes, so I appreciate that.
There we go. There we go. Happy to be in the same sentence as your grandmother. I'm sure she's a very nice lady. Ian, what do you want to get out of today? What would be successful in the next hour together?
So I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time, but I've never really seriously used it. And I've noticed that for me, if I post content that has some sort of like personal edge to it, and not just work, that way seems to get good traction. And if I post anything that's like just work related and it's not that great, I barely will get a like, might get 50 impressions. Like it's really bad. And I have like almost 1,000 connections. So I'm hoping just like to learn just different kinds of content ideas to post. I think over the last couple of weeks since I've been involved in this program, I've learned a few things, or I've kind of honed a little bit of a niche. And I've been mostly writing articles, but maybe some other content ideas I can use on LinkedIn that, might help me keep building up traction and a bit of an audience.
I like it. Ian, throw your LinkedIn in the chat here. I might use you as a guinea pig if we go through some posts here, some live posts here. What I will say around the personal posts, I did a presentation this morning. People always ask me, what's the algorithm? What's in what do we need to know about the algorithm? My answer to the algorithm is, how do I want to be, use the right language, but like, who cares about the algorithm? If you post interesting things, people will care about it. Is the politically correct way to say that. The only exception to that rule is personal related to business content is the only thing that no matter what does well for all of our clients. If there is something personal you can relate to business, that is the only hack to getting engagement on the post. Not videos, not long form, not short form. Post interesting stuff is my way to say, here's what the algorithm cares about. But if there is something personal that you can relate to business, I post a lot about being an entrepreneur and a dad. Those get 5 times the impressions, 5 times the number of likes of every other post that I do. I don't just want to be the entrepreneur and dad guy. So I do that about 20%, and then 80% is on social selling and LinkedIn. That's usually like this ratio I recommend is like 80-20, 80 about what you actually do, 20% personal. Because I do think it matters that people know what you do rather than just every time it's a personal post. But those are always going to get the most engagement. And thank you for throwing in that. I might even workshop live. Hey, here's how I would have changed that. Here's what I would have thought could have made that better.
Okay.
Thanks, Ian. Jamie, what would be successful? What would be helpful for you in the next 15 minutes? You got to go off mute, though.
I did that for your sake, everyone's sake. I kept it on mute. What would be success? I wrote down about 30 things. So I want to know how it all works. How do you, and what I mean by that, so actually success, let me say 3 specific things. One, this is more personal, but I think it's relevant. Like I have 20,000 followers, didn't know that until, I don't remember if it was Paul or Aaron who were like, Mazel Tov, you're an influencer. I've never, the only things I've written are like when I actually care about something, which is like maybe once every 2 months. And so what I'd love to learn a bunch about, and I don't care if it's, forget the name, the algorithm, are things like from more of like a data perspective, is it better to post once a month, really authentic and funny with a hook and get 1,000 likes? Or is it better to post consistently and get 20 likes? And when you get 20 likes, like, do people look at that? Or do we know if people look at that and their reactions? Like, do people look at it and go, oh, what a loser? Whereas people look at 1,000 likes and they're like, Ben's like, I don't do that because Ben's nice. But like, I'm not that nice. So what about other people like me? So.
All right. What you said at the end there is what holds 98% of people back. I mean, it's like the worry that if I post, the only people that are going to like it are my grandmother, my significant other, and Harris. Like, that is what holds the majority of people back, is a fear of judgment.
But like I'm more asking, let me say it differently. If you don't have something to say and
Yeah.
you're posting, like everybody has shit to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's like irrelevant and who cares?
So I think I'm with you. I am in I believe in quality over quantity. I don't believe you should be out there 5 days a week. There are other people who do what I do that say you should be out there every single day of the week. I think that is somewhat crazy to say to a busy executive or person, to be out there that often. Like most of us, if we don't do this for a living, don't have valuable things to say every single day, especially on LinkedIn. I mean, Instagram and Twitter might be different. I'm talking exclusively about LinkedIn. Jamie, if you're going every 2 months right now, if you got into a every 2 weeks cadence, I think that would keep you more top of mind for your audience. I would have to say, what's the goal for you here, which would help me be like, no, I'd stay with like home runs every time, or I'd try to hit a double every other week. That would kind of be the thought process I would go to. But in terms of velocity of how often you're posting, what I tend to say when I give presentations is like, if you're never posting, try to commit to once a month. Try to commit to once a month. If you're posting once a month, try to commit to every other week. If you're every other week, try to commit to once a week. Once a week is probably fine for the majority of people. Once, very quality, very human, once a week. Your best idea of that week would be what I would recommend for someone who's just getting started.
Aaron, can you imagine just where if I posted my best idea once a week, I'd get thrown off of LinkedIn.
No, sure. You are so interesting, Jamie. You got to give yourself more credit. You are an interesting person.
No, but like you've heard my best ideas.
There's no bad idea in brainstorming.
We need more realness on LinkedIn, Jamie. I'm pushing you here to give me your best idea of the week that I think would be phenomenal. The more human, the more real, the more that definitely wasn't Jamie ChatGPT, the better it's going to do on LinkedIn. I know you, I can tell that you don't do that. That is like the surefire way to get burnt out and stop and never get any engagement. Like if you want to get no engagement and hate this platform, go into ChatGPT and ask you to write it a post and put that every week. Like that is the only thing I could say is definitely not going to work. And that's what we see. A lot of people, they try for 5 days in a row and they're like, nobody liked it, nobody cares, and they give up. Awesome. This is a very hard thing to do if you do it effectively for a long time. That's where the magic happens. And Jamie, you're sitting on a really good asset of 20,000 followers. I mean, I've even seen Jamie comment on people I've worked with, and like the post gets a lot more engagement from that. So there's even like benefit to Jamie, you commenting specifically on posts, also like from this group and this community.
Ian, I just commented on yours.
That's probably why I did so well. I appreciate it.
I just replied.
I had real questions.
I actually thought they were great questions, so I appreciate that.
Sorry, I'll stop. See, Harris, this is why I'm on mute.
No, it's good. I like it. Joseph, what would I know you came a little bit to us. What would success look like in the next hour we have together? What are you hoping to get out of this session? I mentioned I spend all day, every day helping executives and sales professionals and leaders utilize LinkedIn as a business development channel. What would be helpful for you? What are you hoping to get out?
Yeah, well, I'd say I'm relatively new to LinkedIn. I've built an audience over on other platforms, but I've realized that I guess now I'm trying to work with top founders and established creators, and they're like a lot easier to connect with or get in touch with on LinkedIn. And so I guess my biggest thing is, like that I'd be curious about is the outreach strategy for that. Like if you have any techniques or whatever for when outreaching, if it's more just to have like a casual chat, it's more to suggest like, hey, this is how I can help. Like, because it's more just like building a network rather than like trying to sell them stuff. But it's like if they know people or know people, it's sort of so it's trying to build relationships, I think, is what I'm most interested in.
Great question. I'm sure everybody on here has been pitch slapped on LinkedIn, and it's one of the reasons why LinkedIn gets such a bad rap is because people immediately try to connect with you and either in that first message throw you a sales message, or they connect and they immediately do it. I am very anti that. As I'm sure everybody is on this call, that's not how the world works. You wouldn't go up to somebody at a networking meeting and immediately ask to sales pitch them. What I believe in and how I've seen the best people utilize this is consistently create valuable content every day or every week, connect with ideal prospects, no pitch, nothing, but like people who are going to care about what you're doing. You want to be adding them proactively to your network so that they see some of this content. And then the best direct messages from like a sales and new business perspective come from when those people engage with your content and utilize that as an excuse to outreach. Like, hey, Aaron, great seeing your name pop up on LinkedIn. It's been forever since we did that presentation for Bedford. Would love to catch up and hear how everything's going. And like, I'm honestly not going to go to that meeting with Aaron and try to pitch her, but I do utilize that as an excuse to outreach. So like the people engaging with content is almost always the biggest opportunity from a new business perspective. But like it comes from create valuable content, connect with ideal prospects every week, every day, farm the engagement on who's valuable that's engaging with that content and use that as an excuse to outreach. And like the more kind of informal, the AI tests is what you want to sniff against from an outreach perspective. Like, is there something you can do that shows like you actually did a little bit of research, know a little bit about them? That's what gets the best responses. Does that help answer your question, Joseph?
Yeah, no, perfect. Thank you.
I love it. Great question, though. Paul and then Troyce, and I'll go into some ideas that I have around content and profile and outreach.
Sure.
Paul first.
And yeah, for sure. So I'll keep it short. Just always curious about like various automations on LinkedIn. I know they're typically a closed off garden and like very difficult to do things related to automation on there. But if there's any sort of like, I don't know, tips, tricks, hacks that you found to be useful, especially love the, when people post something. I mean, it's a little bit annoying sometimes when it's like comment and I'll send you the thing. That seems to be, very common approach, but yeah, if there's things that you've seen work well.
As far as automation, I'm always a little nervous around automation because I feel like every couple weeks these tools get like taken away because LinkedIn is the strictest of all tools when it comes to automation. Caveat. What I do use automation for and what we use it for all of our clients for is that second leg of the stool. So thought leadership content, that's not automation. Connecting every week with ideal buyers is an automation that we use and focus on. So we'll build a lead list in Sales Navigator. Hey, let's say we're targeting private equity companies in Washington, D.C., and we want to go after the operating partner. I will every day use a automation to just connect with 10 of them. And like building up your audience with the people that you want to see your content is a great utilization of automation. I'm not then I'm not pitch slapping them. I'm not trying to sell them afterwards. What I'm usually doing is like at the end of the month, I'll look through and say, okay, now I have 50 new insurance sales leaders. What's a very specific targeted outreach I can do to that person? That's clearly me and not AI, but I do use automation to bring them into the network. And then I'll look at that and talk about what's the outreach to them. And I use something called botdog.co. There's a billion of them out there. They're fine. It's just like every other one of them. What I would just be cognizant of, and I know you don't do this, Paul, but people can over automate, and that's a great way to ruin a relationship before you ever even get started. Like it's so obvious when you get an automated message from somebody after a connection. I know Paul would never do this, but that's just something to be cognizant of when it comes to automation. It's still, even with, hey, name, hey, school, like I'm anti that, but I've seen, obviously it's something people do. Yeah, I know you don't, Paul. Troyce, what you got for us? What would success look like? What are you hoping to get answered here today?
Well, I have to go back to Jamie for a second because I've been biting my tongue wanting to say something. There's a guy that I'm connected with who I used to work with, and he did a post maybe about a year ago now that I was like, wow, this is like his authentic self. He's giving it what he wants. And at first I thought, oh, that's abrupt, but I'm intrigued and drawn in every time he posts. So I would say, go with it, Jamie. I would like to get out of it. I too, I think Joseph, I think was saying a little bit newer to LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for years, but it was more connected with my old career prior to real estate and being connected to a lot of individuals within that arena to get ideas. In real estate, as a realtor, I'd like to see how I can utilize it to grab new business somehow. On Instagram, Facebook, I kind of have that down, how I can reach out to people, connect with people, but LinkedIn's a little bit different. I mean, because of this program, I have started posting on there. a little bit more, and I'm toying with, get the premium account versus, just what I have, and see if that might do something different. But I'll be honest, there's not much about LinkedIn I know other than how to search for something and just what I'm seeing in the feed when I'm reading it. So
this is such an untapped market for realtors. Like I've always wondered why I don't have a single realtor in my feed ever, literally period, ever. On Instagram, they're all over it. Like, and yet I can tell, not to be crude, but like I can tell kind of how rich somebody is on LinkedIn, and I don't have any idea on Instagram. Like, wouldn't I want to be connected with the richest people in my town, all the CEOs of companies, C-suite executives, 500 or more, like showcasing houses? Like, I don't know why. I don't see it at all on LinkedIn at all. And I actually think, like, if everybody's on Instagram, this actually feels like a great opportunity to build up on LinkedIn. And you already have really good content. Like, the content can be very similar. Post about the awesome houses that you're listing, whatever it might be. Like, connect with the C-suite executives in your specific town every single day.
Which I don't know how to do.
Well, I could show you what to do and how to do that. That is where you would need Sales Navigator. So don't get premium, but get Sales Navigator. It is $100 a month. But what I would do in that situation, and if we have time for questions at the end, which we probably will, like, here's how to build a list. Here's how to automate connecting with them. And then I would like see who engages with and every time you post on Instagram, do the same thing on LinkedIn. Like, you're not going to get a ton of likes. That doesn't matter. But like over time, more and more rich people in your area who know what you do is a good thing. And like, this is a really interesting way to do it. And I think it's actually a wide open space that for some reason realtors don't want to go after. I actually really love it for the space. If someone's willing to commit to it, and it's not really even doing that much, like, you're already creating the content, connect with ideal buyers, which we can show you how to automate, and then like track who's engaging and use it as an excuse to outreach. Like, there's a proactivity to LinkedIn that doesn't really exist with Instagram. You can be proactive with people that I don't think Instagram allows you to do. So I'm glad you're here. I think that's a really, really smart use case for LinkedIn that isn't touched on enough. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody's questions. I think I got everybody. I'm going to share a little bit. Nobody wants to hear me talk at you for 40 minutes. I'm going to share a couple things. I want to get us talking. I'm going to call on people. I'm going to say, hey, Aaron, do you disagree with that? Ian, tell me why you have a better idea. So I am going to call people out as we go through, but I do have a couple slides that I kind of put together. Let me share them. Let me share my screen. This is a new platform for me, but you guys can see this? Yeah, I can see this. This is cool. It's like awesome. Quick story. It's not on the realtor side. It is on the tenant rep real estate side. What we do is we help executives and sales teams utilize LinkedIn as a business development channel. We started working with a tenant rep broker in Washington, D.C. He had barely posted before. 7 posts in, so not very many posts. A decision maker looking to relocate their office liked one of his posts. So he's a tenant rep guy. He finds people who want to move offices and help, and basically is the broker for that experience. We brought, his name was Dan. Hey, Dan, this person engaged with your post. Do you know them? He said, we worked together about 8 years or so ago, but we haven't connected in a while. Let's reach out. That conversation turned into a deal. It was about a $168,000 deal, all from being out there at the right time, utilizing a warm signal to reach out to the person. We have so many examples of content. Somebody good in your network engages, utilize the warm signal of them engaging as an excuse to outreach, gets into the pipeline. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today goes through that process. Not rocket science, but it is a consistency game. The more valuable content you put out there, the more likely it is that somebody valuable shows up as a like or a comment that we then use to outreach. Why aren't most people doing this, and what's often not working? One of the best ways to utilize LinkedIn that I don't see enough people taking advantage of is the referral opportunity. So I can tell not only who Aaron is connected to, but actually who Aaron really knows, because those are people Aaron is liking and commenting on their posts. And then there is people that are liking and commenting on Aaron's posts. So there is an aspect of connection that I can't get anywhere else, that I think is a massive, massive business development opportunity, especially in large scale sales. Your network doesn't know what you actually do. There's a consistency to this. You're not showing up consistently. You don't have a system, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then probably one of the biggest things, if you are being active, is you're not doing enough with the engagement. I would say if there's one thing that most of us can take away from today is, okay, we're posting, we're learning that, and we're doing that through Bedford. Who are the specific people that are valuable to us that are engaging? And very often it'll be somebody you worked with a decade ago, 3 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it might be. Utilize that as an excuse to outreach. How I believe in business development is the more conversations I can have with valuable people, the better things will be. This allows me to continuously do outreach in a way that feels comfortable for me. I'm not a believer in cold calling. I'll never do it again. I did it my first job out of college. I don't believe cold emailing works. You can fight me on that. It's just not my thing. I think it's really, really hard to do. The other kind of business development aspect is in person, which is great, but that's limited. And then the fourth leg of the stool is social selling, and really for B2B. And I could argue realtors a little bit too on the B2C side. Like, this is an untapped channel for many people because it's hard to do consistently. It's hard to consistently put out valuable content. That's why you're in Bedford, is to learn to be able to do that. So many people will quit before you get over the hump and before this actually becomes a meaningful trigger for you. What I tend to tell people is, if you can get over the 6-month hump of doing this consistently could be every other week, you put out 12 posts, I promise you good things will happen. You will have new people in the pipeline that otherwise wouldn't have. What I often see is people try for a week, they try for 2 weeks, they don't get any leads. The only people liking it are my grandma and my significant other, and they give up. Like, this is a push the longer term play, and that's often what we see people not having success because they give up around low engagement. Let's talk about the system. Give you just quick background on me. Really excited to be teaming up with the Bedford team. Run a company called Linked Revenue. Our whole goal and focus is on helping executives utilize LinkedIn as a business development channel. What we're going to talk about is thought leadership content, connecting with ideal prospects, sending targeted direct messages. Those are what we do for executives, and so excited to share that knowledge with all of you today. Most of you know these stats. There's a ton of people on LinkedIn. There's a ton of really valuable business people on LinkedIn. The one that I'll call out that I think is the most interesting, 1% of people post once per month. So 1% of the platform is on there once per month. That is not a very high bar. And if this is something you can consistently commit to, the results are pretty amazing. It just comes with putting yourself out there, sharing, making yourself uncomfortable, getting through the noise when only 3 people are engaging with it. If you can get past it, it becomes an amazing business development channel for you. What do we often hear from executives? Too busy to post. What Jamie said, Ben said, I'm worried about people liking it or being engaged with it. Content feels generic. I'm pro AI in general of work, because you have to be. I am anti-utilizing AI exclusively to create content. I know that's in line with how Bedford feels around this. It is an amazing research. It's a great tool to utilize. But if you're just putting, hey, write me a LinkedIn post into ChatGPT or Claude, you're not going to get any engagement. There's going to be no humanness to it. Jamie, thank you for the question. What % of people are active, and how do you define active? How many people just respond? I would say that's the majority of LinkedIn. There's percentages specifically. I can get back to you on it. The majority of people are logging in at least once a week to the platform. Like, I hear a lot. LinkedIn's what I hear often, and LinkedIn's the only social media platform I open. I mean, I hear that all the time from like very, very busy high up executives. Like, I don't have Facebook, I don't have Twitter, I don't have Instagram, but like, I have a LinkedIn. I have heard that, I mean, hundreds of times, which to me, it's like, okay, this is the place that I want to be. This is where I want to be creating, especially when it comes to like reaching high up executives. We talked about that. This is our system. This is what I think every single one of you can create. This is what you can do. This is what I want to empower a lot of people to do. I like to keep things as simple as possible. Three legs to the stool, 3 ways to do it. Consistently create thought leadership content. Strategically network, connect with the right people. Send personalized direct messages. You do those 3 things and you will add new business to your pipeline that otherwise wasn't there. All of them work together. Create the content, connect with people, connect with valuable people, identify, figure out who's engaging with your content and also who's engaging with like champions and referrals content. I'll share some examples around that. Utilize that data and send outreach and send short outreach. I think that's another thing. It was a really good question that I want to make sure. Joseph, you asked around like outreach that actually gets a response. What I tend to see is most people's outreach is way too long. Like we push our team and we push everybody that we work with 2 to 3 sentences max. Your goal is not to pitch the person in that message. Your goal is to do that is to get them to say, yes, Troyce, this is worth my time. Like I will take 15 minutes with you. I will take 30 minutes with you. Like I think so many people go for the kill with their first message and nobody is reading a long message. Nobody's responding to a long message. Like I would encourage, push yourself so uncomfortable in the shortness of that message with the goal of getting a response. I didn't mention that before, Joseph, but I think it's a really important aspect.
Yeah, I was just saying, are you asking a question or something in that outreach, or are you sort of, like, is the aim to get them on a call, lay down the track, or like a networking call, or what? Yeah, like, or are you just sort of stating that, hey, I saw something cool on your profile or whatever. I think our worlds overlap. It would be cool to connect and just
I stay away from the question because I think it can feel like salesy and like promotional in a way. I try to make it about them. So what I'll do in those situations is there's somebody that I really want to connect with. I will look at like their last couple posts and what they're caring about and see if I can like send a direct message around that and how I can provide value for them. As an example, like this isn't always hyper relevant to every situation, but I used to work for a leadership development company and we would target CHROs that we would want to speak with. And if that CHRO was posting about a position at their firm, like that was open, I would probably try to think about somebody in my network that would be of interest for them and utilize that as my like entryway into that CHRO. So like he or she is telling me what they care about. I'm sending a direct message based off of that, not what's in it for me. I think the majority of direct messages that don't work and that we see are like, my product's the best and you'd be lucky to have a conversation with me. And here's 25 amazing features about my product. And it's like, whoa. Like your goal is to show that you've done your research on them and care about them, and them creating content is a good way to do that. And, or like you doing legitimate research. I think AI ups the bar in that, like, yes, there are AI tools that can give you background. I always try to like fight against that a little bit. I'll give you an example in my world, and I'm not sure how relevant this will be, but I might ask you a little bit for your version. Sorry, my light got messed up. A relevant version in our end. We do a lot of work with insurance producers, and we get in through the regional president or the head of sales operation or the head of sales enablement. Like that's our biggest ICP. And so what we'll do, I'll try to connect with as many of those regional presidents and head of sales ops as possible. And then like I'll manually go in and find 3 of their top producers and say, hey, Aaron, I think you're missing an opportunity for your team because John Smith, Susie, and Bob have X thousand followers. Every time they post, it gets this amount of engagement. Like, I think there's a missed opportunity here that just shows I've done some research that AI couldn't really do. That's how I tend to like do the outreach on LinkedIn. I've been talking a lot. I want to flip it on to you, Joseph, though. Like, tell me a little bit more about your business, and I might be able to give you workshop a live idea.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I assume my business is similar to what you mentioned earlier with like the leadership coaching, but instead of working with I guess leadership or corporate, it's more like solo founders or established content creators that have a few million followers or so forth. And it's helping them tapping into neuroscience to become more productive, more creative, achieve more in less time. So it's helping them almost scale the business without burning themselves out.
I see.
And so it's more of like a coaching offer. But that being said, I'm looking at getting more into like customer success. So I'm looking to connect with people that have like an offering or a service, but they want almost like a customer success manager on steroids to be able to, like tap into that as well. So that's sort of like a super bit of basic concept.
So in that situation, I would like, this is really hard to do at scale and mass and automation. And I know that's hard because we all have limited resources, but like what I would do in that situation is I would try to find people who fit your ICP that are posting consistently and share a valuable. I'm even like I'm kind of stopping myself because there's a way to do this poorly that I see all the time, which is like sharing a blanketed resource that you send to everybody doesn't work and doesn't get a response. The caveat to that is like if you have an amazing resource that connects to what they're doing, and for example, you were on a podcast and you talked specifically about the problem that they were saying, you could send me a direct message and be like, hey, Harris, your post around being an entrepreneur and a dad and struggling with burnout is like actually something that I've seen a lot of. Here's a resource. Here's something that I mentioned in a podcast that I thought would be hyper relevant for you. Like, let me know if this helps. Not scalable, not automated, but like if a conversation with that person is valuable enough, like I tend to move in the way of quality direct messages, sending a couple sniper shots rather than like mass blasting. The way that people do that poorly is they send, hey, we built this 90-day guide to helping you, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing to every single person. And like, it's very obvious. And once you get that, you're like, yeah, I'm never reading that. Again, hard to scale what I'm talking about. And I recognize that. But it's like, hey, a couple conversations with the right people is really valuable for me. That's how I approach LinkedIn direct messaging rather than like a mass blast kind of spray and pray model.
Yeah. And I think that's how I approach it as well. Like I've just, connections and yeah, I'm very like personal about it. And I guess, would you ever explore like sending like a personalized loom or something? Or
So great question. I love that as a direct outreach message. What I tend to do, and so few people will do this, and that's kind of what I love about it. I'm like a business development. I just love nuanced business development strategies. What I'll tend to do, where I use the video direct messages instead of a loom because it's taking somebody off the platform, what I'll do is like, let's say there's somebody that was in my pipeline 4 years ago that was a really good lead, and then just something didn't happen. I'll often hit them with like a video direct message to grab their attention. Hey, Christoph, it's been a while since we last connected. Like, just came up with an idea that I think would work for another CRO like you. Let's catch up. Like, if Christoph's getting a ton of messages, that's what I would hit him with. The loom is okay. Again, it's something you could send to 10,000 people, and I think people are hesitant of that. Like, my barrier for outreach is always like, I want Paul to know this is just going to Paul. And that's just my word. Like, if you do it in the loom and you could tell it's just going to them, I think that's a really good way to do it. I usually just do like face to camera once you're connected to somebody, hit them with a message like that. I gave a presentation to 350 insurance producers, and I said, hey, I want everybody here to send me a video direct message. 2 of them did it. Like, it makes people so uncomfortable. Nobody will do it. And as someone who's like obsessed with nuanced business development strategies, like I love that. And please do that. And I guarantee you will get responses. You will get people to read it. Nothing in business development is guaranteed, but doing things that other people won't that show it's like personalized and human is the best way to stick out on LinkedIn.
I was just on that, just quickly, did you mention, so is there a video feature?
Once you're connected to somebody, you can send them a video message only on your phone. It has to be on your phone. Click on their name, and then there's like if you have a recent messaging back and forth.
There's like a send attachment, take a photo or video.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try it out. Try it out.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't do this all the time. I do it with people that are like in my pipeline that's stalled. That's really like where I tend to do this for. There are people I know who do it for cold. That's not me. Again, I wish I could do that. Honestly, like I don't really have the what's the term? I'm not confident enough, but like I've seen that work absolutely. And like I'm in executives LinkedIn's all day. Less than 1% are getting our video direct messages. Like I'm sure Ben could agree with that. Like, and all of you, like less than 1% of your pitch slaps are video direct messages. Really good way to stick out. I want to make sure I get some of the one. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I get some of these. Developing your content strategy. It needs to be. Oh, that's funny. LinkedIn on the desktop. Yeah, it is kind of annoying. All right, let me share I'm gonna move through this a little bit because I want to be cognizant of time. I have some thoughts before we get into like thought leadership around the profile. I'm gonna blow through this pretty quick. All the slides will be available. The recording will be available. I don't think enough people take advantage of the about section, and there's a lot of differing opinions on this. What we tend to do and we tend to recommend is who are you, how your company helps with a strong focus in the first sentence. I think the third one's really big if you have it. Case study examples that prove your value, a little bit about you personally, who should contact you and how they should contact you. That's like the format to set up our profile. So before we get into content, connecting, and relationship mapping, I want to make sure that we're set up for success with a good profile. This is what mine looks like. We work with executives who have built impressive networks, help them turn those relationships into revenue. At Linked Revenue, we specialize in relationship-based selling. Everything we do is rooted in your voice, your network, and your goals. Let me go to the bottom because I think it's really important. I think everybody here should have this, and I'd love this as a takeaway. A little bit about me. I have a toddler son and a baby daughter who are both the best and exhausting. I was drafted by the Nats out of high school. I got the yips in college. I've been to all 50 states. What I love about this is that this allows me to build a connection with somebody. I can't tell you how many times somebody gets on the call and they're like, oh, my cousin had the yips. Like, that's brutal. Or like, I'm a Mets fan. I hate the Nats. Like, I love that I immediately have a connection with somebody from this that otherwise I wouldn't have. Even like open some doors for me that otherwise wouldn't have. Like sometimes the baseball connection, like a founder or CEO will respond when like otherwise they probably wouldn't. Too many people aren't human enough on here. Like this is your opportunity when someone says, hey, Aaron, should I accept you or should I decline? Like be a human being, showcase who you are, and really good things can happen. I would encourage you all to kind of make some adjustments here. This is the format that we recommend. I've been anti-AI for the first 45 minutes. I'm not anti-AI in helping you to create like a good first draft for an about section. Here's the format that I want to do. Help me to do that. And then edit it, of course. But that can be kind of the way that you make changes there. I'm going to skip through these. These are some other examples of other people. I'm going to skip through these. Headline also. I'm a fan. There's differing opinions on this. I am not. Let me take that back. I am not a fan of, and there's very differing opinions. We help you generate 10,000 leads per minute. I am very anti that. I think people assume there is a pitch slap coming right after that. I am CEO at Bedford. Here's what we do. I'm not. Don't just go into exactly what you do. I think that honestly like looks kind of like childish and unprofessional. I would do title and who you are and what your company is, and then like one of those lines, and then like what do you do? So I have founder and CEO at Linked Revenue, and then I have that, and I have executive demand gen. That's our focus. That's what we do. I like some of these. Well, caveat. I like these two. I don't like this one. Co-founder and managing partner at the Tenant Agency, entrepreneur and advisor. I like that. CEO and founder at Site Selection Group. I like that. I do not like this. Passionate tenant advocate and playing field leveler. He's the CEO of that company. I don't think this gives him enough credit and opens enough doors, because when Glenn asked to connect with Ian, all Ian's going to see is passionate tenant advocate and playing field leveler, and he's going to be like, okay, Glenn's about to pitch me. Like, you have a couple seconds for Ian to decide if Glenn is worth accepting as a connection. And by the way, we really want people to accept that connection because now we can bring them into our orbit. They can see some of the content. They can engage. Like, the more valuable people that accept our connections, the better it does. So we want to have the best kind of profile set up for success. Ian, I couldn't agree more with you. Pro AI, anti AI. I don't like the ones that have the person's job in the industry in their title. I want to easily see who you are. I like sort of disagree, Aaron, but let me bring you in. Tell me more.
I actually typed that wrong. I don't like the ones. Yeah, no, I said this right. That don't have the job title. Like the ones that are just like, I'm passionate about blank.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Who are you? Why should I talk to you? Like, do you even have a job? Do you work for a company? Like, make the ones that say right there at the top, like co-founder at this company. Like, awesome. Tell me more things after that, but like, don't bury the lead. Who are you?
Exactly. My thoughts exactly. That's why I don't like.
I had a double negative. It's confusing.
Yeah. Cool. Most people. Last thing I'll talk about on the profile. Most people don't even know that the featured section exists. Go to your profile. Go to add recommended, and you can do add featured section. This is a really good opportunity for you to kind of showcase who you are, what you're about. I can just show you because I was actually talking about this earlier today. So this is mine. Add section, recommended, featured, add featured. You should have the Bedford website, whatever it is that you're working on. If you've been featured anywhere, if you have a post that you're really proud of, that should 100% be here. And what shows up is I have apply to work with us. I have a little bit around like who we work with, basically a 2025 recap. And then I have a newsletter. And so I have it right there. Like this is where I'm trying to drive people. And so as they're deciding whether to work with us or not, or whether to engage with me, whether to accept my connection request, this is a pretty important aspect to make sure it sets up. So that's often something that I miss there. Let me pull us back for a second. I sped through that pretty quickly, but before we get into content, I want to make sure profile is set up. Again, everybody's going to get all the slides. Questions, pushback. Hey, I don't like this. I like that. Any comments on the profile edits? Anything you disagree with or doesn't make sense? All good. All right. I'll bring us back, and I want to go through. Let me share my screen. So what should we post on LinkedIn? What makes good content? This is one of the top 5 questions that I get. I like to break things down simply. I get overwhelmed, and Andrew and I talked a lot about this when we were building this out. Like, I get overwhelmed when someone's like, "Oh, we got to build out this really long content calendar and all this stuff." And I know that's differing opinions than other people. Like, whenever I do that, I get like analysis paralysis, and I just stop and I don't do it. I tend to like block off 30 minutes. I post too much, but that's because this is like my job. So like you don't have to do this amount of time. But like I think you could block 30 minutes a week and get really good content out. Like get a good content piece out for the next week. That would probably be like my recommendation for this group. What makes good content? Personal stories and lessons. If only Troyce could write it, that's going to be really good content. If Troyce GBT could write it, I'm not really that interested in it. Maybe Troyce has built out his GBT really well, but I'm still not that interested in it. Like, give me real stories, real lessons. The more you can be vulnerable, the more you can be honest, like the better it's going to do. Client wins and case studies where you can share it. Thought leadership, but like thought leadership is such a word that gets thrown out there so much. The part that matters about this is bold opinions. What do you believe about the creator economy that other people don't? Like, that's what I care about learning from Paul and from Ben. Not just like, hey, the creator economy is awesome. Like, yeah, of course. But like, give me your bold, unique opinion. Like, distribution is going to be the number one way that people win in sales for the next 10 years. Like, okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about why you believe that. What is making you to believe that? That's what makes good thought leadership. Engaging polls and questions, especially if like your audience is in a specific space, like that's what makes good content. There's no hack to, hey, every time you do long form content, it's going to do really well, or short form or video. There's no hack. Like what I tend to tell people around the algorithm and what to post is like, what feels comfortable for you and what can you consistently do for 6 months? Like, and mix it up. Video, short form, long form, polls. Like every week I try to like mix it up and do something different. If you get into a rut where you're like, hey, I want to do, I have to do video because some influencer's telling me I have to do video, like you're going to stop. You're going to get bored. You're going to be like, this feels uncomfortable, and you're going to stop doing it. Like, do what it is that you can do for 6 months is my biggest piece of feedback there. Do different things, post consistently. I'd rather you commit to once a month and do it for 6 months than go 12 days in a row and then stop. Like there's a long tail version of this that matters a lot rather than a quick burst out of the gates. Here's what I would encourage you to commit to this, and you all are because you're in Bedford, but like for the long haul, like if you come, I promise you, if you commit to every week or every other week sharing something valuable and you do that for 6 months, there is 100% chance of you bringing something into the pipeline or something valuable happening to your business in the next 6 months. The data is just too high for that not to happen. Again, that's if you follow this, if you create valuable content for an ICP rather than just like putting generic AI slop out there. Like if you are human and you create valuable content, there's 100% success rate of doing this. Most people will quit at month 2 when it seems like nobody's caring about what they're doing. Like I know that's what we're all about with Bedford. Like push through, keep doing it. There is magic on the other side of the rainbow. You just have to get to the other side of the rainbow is a really big part of content creation on LinkedIn specifically. I shared some examples here around like what I've seen work and biggest reasons why people don't post on LinkedIn: fear of being judged, not being able to see ROI immediately, no idea what to write, thinking everybody already knows what they post. Let me actually double click on that one. And I know Bedford helps with number 3. This community helps with number 1. Bedford helps with number 3. Number 4 is a really big one. You tend to think that your audience, and you being broader you, knows everything that you're going to post. That is not the case. Like you live and breathe residential real estate. I spend less than 1% of my time thinking about residential real estate. I would love to know some of the intricacies and details and like things that you're constantly telling customers about. That is really interesting to me that you think is very normal because you talk about it every single day. Like that holds a lot of people back from sharing really valuable things. So I would push people to be like, yes, just because I think some of my audience knows this, like doesn't mean I shouldn't share it. So I just wanted to double click on that. I do some video because I want to. Video's gone up and down as far as LinkedIn. It started off like a couple years ago, it was amazing. 6 months ago, it was terrible. Now we're actually on like the uptick as far as like engagement. Again, I don't really care about that. I care about the consistency, but if you care about the algorithm, that's going up. Other examples here. I shared this one because obviously it went crazy, almost 4,000 engagers. And I think this is hyper relevant for a bunch of people. He basically took what happened at Harvard around them cutting tuition, which is getting very heavy news headlines, and like put his own unique spin and take on it. And it made for really good content. Like if there are things going on in your industry in the news that you can ride the coattails of and share something interesting, there's a lot of value in that. So I just share that as like an example of like, don't just share the article, like, or don't just share what Harvard did, like put your take on it. I think that's a thing that I see a lot of people struggle with is they just share it. Nobody really cares what Forbes has to say. Like, oh, no way. We should talk about Frank. Frank's the best. Put your unique take on it.
This worked really well for me recently. I did that talking about the CEO of Duolingo being a dummy. Got great engagement.
Love it. I've done a couple around like there's I mean, this would be relevant for Bedford, honestly, but like Anthropic is paying their head of communications $500,000 a year. Clearly, like an AI company cares about what their executive communicate. I think it was head of executive communications. Yeah, like clearly they care about what it's doing, like what's going on in your industry. The real estate one is really, really like you just commit, like you help somebody find a house that's amazing, post that on LinkedIn, tag them, like whatever, like everything you're doing on Instagram should live on LinkedIn as well. I gave a bunch of more examples. I've talked about this, but I want to showcase it, like personal, related to business. Successful morning for these two at the tenant agency. The value here in the business is in the 118 people who engaged with it. Like Dan is going to generate new business from this because of 118 people who engaged. And I'm sure 5 to 10 of them are valuable people for him to speak with. And he's going to now outreach and say, hey, Aaron, great seeing your name pop up on LinkedIn. Would love to catch up and share the latest around what we got going on and hear what's going on at Bedford. Like, that's the magic in here, not rocket science, but like that's the magic in what happens when you consistently do this. Valuable content, connect with people, farm the engagement, and use that as an excuse to outreach. So I got a bunch of other ones in here. This is where I'll kind of leave us, and then I want to leave some time for questions. Where does good content come from? Again, I'm a simple person. I like to make it as simple as possible. I'm not a big content calendar person. It's not my thing. I get overwhelmed. Oh, here's a giant Notion document. No. It's not me. 3 things. Recent conversations where you shared something with a prospect or client and they found it interesting. If they were shaking their head and saying, Troyce, that's a pretty good point. Tell me more about what's going on there. Ding, 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 ding. Like, they found it interesting. They fit your ICP. That is content that should be shared more broadly. That's one. That's going to be your best. And this is building a muscle. Like this week, think through that. What did somebody say that they found interesting? That's content that I want to use. I'll give you an AI example for that in a second. 2 is, what are they saying to you that you find really interesting? I love a good like employee engagement tactic and idea. I talk to a lot of CEOs. Like, if I hear something interesting, I might say, hey, Paul, do you mind if I actually share that? Like, I actually really like that tactic, and I think my audience would find interesting in that. Good content. The third one I've kind of mentioned, don't just share a podcast or article. Like, why did that resonate for you, Ian, is what matters. What did Joseph take from that podcast? How does it relate to your work? That's the interesting thing on the content side. I mentioned I'd get to this. How we use AI for number 1 is we have something called Day AI that listens to all of our calls. And at the end of the week, I will say like, hey, Day AI, and now I built it for a while. Like, hey, Day AI, what did I say this week that clients thought were pretty interesting? What did they double click on? What did they like go in depth? What did they say? Hey, Harris, that's an interesting point. I don't say that many things that people find that interesting, but the 1 or 2, what are they grabbing and how am I using AI to do that? That is an amazing utilization of AI. If you use Otter or something to be in all your calls, at the end of the week, just being like, hey, what did the people that I was speaking with find interesting? And then, hey, now how can I have some ideas for what I should post about next week? That is my favorite utilization of AI for content creation. Like, there's calls, it's Tuesday. There's calls that happen Monday that I can't even remember. But like, that's where AI can be a really good kind of thought partner in this.